Well, hey painters, you want to know the top 4 plein air painting mistakes that beginners should avoid in this coming new year? Well, in this video, I'm going to share the biggest mistakes that I see my students and all the beginner plein air painters that I hang out with making. Really commit to working on one of them, have an honest self-reflection and see which one you struggle with the most. And the next 10 paintings, really work on that, because this year, this is the year we got to take our plein air paintings to the next level. So I'm going to do a plein air painting tutorial of this beautiful landscape right here. And throughout the painting, I'm going to give you tips on how to avoid these 4 common mistakes that beginners make in plein air painting so you can make some beautiful plein air paintings. Oh, and honestly, the most important mistake to avoid is the 4th and last one. So be sure you stay through to the end and let's plein air paint. Let's do this. You beginner plein air painters, don't let all this, you know, the hat, the gloves, don't let it scare you away from plein air painting. Winter plein air painting is the best. I mean, honestly, I lost the feeling in my toes and my fingers and part of my face 30 minutes ago, but I'm sure it's not very serious. Well, as we get things started here, if I may be so bold as to say this, if you're a beginner plein air painter to you right now, or thinking about it, if you're on the fence, plein air painting is not too expensive, it's not too time consuming, it's not too complicated. Whether you're 5 or 75, you can do this, and it is so rewarding. All right, hey, mistake number 1, a bad drawing. That's right, we're doing the drawing phase right here, as you can see me drawing in, and that's the biggest mistake right there, right off the bat, a bad drawing. And this is rule number 1 right here. A bad drawing equals a bad painting. That's just a fact. It doesn't matter how flashy your brush strokes are. If you mess up the drawing, you'll mess up your painting. Doesn't matter how hard you try to recover it. And by a bad drawing, I don't mean that you failed to draw the scene out exactly as it looks with charcoal or pencil. Not, you know, although draftsmanship is super important, I mean you messed up with one of the 4 P's. Pieces, placement, proportion, and perspective. So I think another important point is, you know, keep it simple. Paint something intimate. Don't try to paint everything that you see. And why did you set your easel up in that exact place, facing that exact direction? What was it? It's up to you to capture that and convey that to your viewers. And that's really, really important. So what's your focal point going to be? What is it? What's that one thing you want to convey to your viewers? Having said that, you know, practice sketching and drawing. Practice with a pencil. It's important to learn draftsmanship and other skills involved with drawing, shadows and composition, line, edges, geometric shapes. You got to learn all that. But drawing is painting with your brush. Drawing is painting with your brush. And so many painters, you know, including myself, I'm guilty of it, will hurry through the drawing stage, or they'll skip it altogether, thinking that it's not necessary, or they just want to get right to painting. I want to get some color on the canvas and just skip the drawing. But remember, you will see the drawing in your finished painting, if you know what I mean. You will see it. Go back and listen to what I said earlier about drawing. So let me ask you this. Is your drawing helping you, or is it hurting you? What can you do to improve it? You know, what are you going to do in this new year to step up your drawing game so that your painting looks more beautiful? And last, to sum up this point, I'll give you my 4 P's. Go and watch my other videos. I go more in depth about it, or download that free video in the description section. But pieces, have you chunked your painting into 3 to 5 largely identifiable separate pieces? Placement, do you have everything in a boundary, in a perimeter where it's supposed to go according to what you're looking at? Proportion, is everything proportionally properly sized? You don't want to make something overly sized or undersized. It's going to look silly. And then perspective, if you have an opportunity, try to show perspective in your plein air landscape paintings. Well, all right, on to mistake number 2. And hey, if you're learning something from this video, please go ahead and click the like button, the thumbs up button there right now. It really helps this channel. Mistake number 2 is a poor value structure. Hey guys, I mean, this isn't rocket science. I'm not inventing new things here. All 4 of these mistakes are skill sets that we can take back to Monet and the Impressionists that they had to overcome and figure out. And we're doing the same thing today. So a poor value structure is number 2. So almost every beginner plein air painter I've worked with complains that their paintings lack depth. Or, you know, what they say to me exactly is, the exact words are, hey, why do my plein air paintings look flat? So do some of your paintings turn out flat? Do some of your paintings look one-dimensional? Are you struggling with that? And so if you look closely, all beautiful plein air landscape paintings have at least 3 identifiable, distinct and differing pieces of value, dark to light. I call them structural or foundational values. You know, that's why you hear me say quite a bit, values do all the heavy lifting and color gets the credit. because values are, you know, the engine to the plein air painting. That's what drives things, and it's your structure, it's your foundation. It's so important to a beautiful painting that I have my students start out, my plein air students start out in black and white, 2 colors. That's all you get for the first few weeks, 2 colors. I mean, because if you can't learn values first, like I said before, it doesn't matter how flashy you are with brush strokes and everything else. The painting just isn't going to read right to people, and people will notice that if your values are off. So values are just how light or dark a piece is. Values create depth, space, form, and light in such a way that color just can't do to that extent. So the fact is, beautiful paintings have layering and depth, and you achieve that in part by what's called atmospheric perspective. I like to think of depth in terms of atmospheric windows or curtains. You've heard me talk about it before. 3 imaginary clear glass curtains or windows coming down from the sky to the ground, foreground, middle ground, and background. But if you heard me say that before, it could be a good reminder for you, you know, right now, this year. You know, so if I may ask, look at your last plein air painting. Are you implementing structural values successfully into your paintings? Do you have layers of depth in your plein air paintings? So start with the end in mind. Envision the finished painting, keeping values in mind. Before you even put a brushstroke on the canvas, think about the finished painting, as opposed to haphazardly just throwing brushstrokes around aimlessly, hoping for the best, just trying to get done, right? What drew you to the scene? Like I said, what drew you to that scene? Why are you painting the scene? What are you trying to convey to somebody who sees it? What's going to make this painting so special? Is it going to create a memory, a mood, and an emotion? We've got to think in terms of values first. We've got to think about them ahead of time. Envision it, see the values in your mind ahead of time. Look at the landscape, think about it, envision it with paint on your canvas after you look at the landscape in terms of value structure. Got to have good bones, got to have a good foundation. Values is how you do it.
Hey again, well, if we haven't actually met yet, my name's Terry. This is the Learning Plein Air channel, and this channel is all about plein air demos and tutorials just like this one. So if this interests you, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. Hit the like button if you're getting some value out of this painting right now. Back to the painting.
All right, we've got 2 mistakes left to cover. Let's get her done. Mistake number 3, failed color mixing. Many beginner plein air painters have trouble nailing a color or dialing it incorrectly, and it's way off. It's got too much vibrancy, too much chroma, or not enough. It's too dull, too muddied, the wrong tint, the wrong shade, the wrong color, all the above. No matter how hard they try, and we've all been there. It's just it's a constant struggle, but especially when you're new. I've got one word of advice for you: color theory and practice. Oops, that's 2. Practice seeing and mixing. Practice seeing and mixing, and it's just miles on the brush. Get out there and paint. But here's a pro tip: as for the seeing, don't stare at the center of an object in the landscape that you're trying to paint for 15 minutes with no regard whatsoever to the colors that are surrounding it. No shape or color should be viewed in isolation, especially not the center of the object. Your eyes will get fooled every single time. Look toward the edges. Look to the borders. Look where the mountain meets the sky, the barn meets the field, the tree meets the river, whatever. Use your peripheral vision. Use your peripheral vision. Pro tip number 2 there. Don't look right in. Look at the side of your eye. Sometimes you'll catch it and you'll be like, there it is, I got it. As for mixing, study and understand color theory. Read a book or watch one of my other videos on it. I've got a video that's titled How to See and Mix Colors on Plein Air. I think it's my most popular video right now. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that out. But this will improve your plein air painting ability immensely if you understand color theory. And then this. Are you doing this in your plein air paintings? Compare, compare, compare. You've heard me harp on this time and time again. You're comparing one color to the other, one value to the other, one temperature to the other. It's a constant comparison game throughout the whole painting. Are you doing that? Successful plein air painting, it's really all about color relationships, is how to sum that up. But, think about how you can create contrast and interest in your plein air paintings through color harmony and with your color mixing and the stuff that I just talked about. And remember this saying from a legend: every great plein air painting has a main color that goes through it. That was said by Sergei Bongard, famous Russian impressionist, guy that I studied under. My biggest tip for you under this whole point of color is to use changes in color and temperature to create interesting paintings. So look for opportunities to place complementary colors on the color wheel next to one another. and ask yourself, does this piece of color need to be warmer or cooler, lighter or darker? And constantly be asking yourself that throughout the painting, and then just adjust, make adjustments. It's like solving a puzzle. You've heard me say it before. The question is, are you doing it, friend? Are you doing it? A commonly huge mistake, this is so key, a commonly huge mistake the beginner plein air painters make is they take their colors off in some direction and they totally forget about their values. So we already covered the importance of values, right? Well, this is how you mess it up. You go off on a weird tangent with all your colors, forgetting your value structure. So your color mixing must stay within your structural values. I tell you, I struggle with this to this day. It's something you probably always battle, but that's why I've got it listed here under big mistakes to avoid in the coming new year. So let's try to work on that.
It's kind of time to make decisions, you know, but this is kind of the alpenglow hour. This is really when you want to be painting up in the mountains, at least I do. The sun is low, the shadows are rich and deep, the light is glowing, and I just want to try to show that in this painting right now. Hey, me again real quick. Do you need help with your setup and supply? I've got a free, private, unlisted video. I'll link it up in the description below. Click on there. It also gives you access to my newsletter, which I send out, once a month or so. I don't overdo it, but tips and techniques in there as well. So welcome to that community. Click the link below. Thanks.
And you know, on the flip side of the coin with failed color mixing, point number 3 here is that are you shy about pushing your color? Could you be popping your colors in select places in your painting a little bit more? Could you be making more of a bold statement? Create a mood. Get somebody's attention through color. Well, all right, here we are. The all-important mistake number 4, and I think it is the most important mistake because if you can master this or improve at this, you know, all the other 3 points come into alignment. And so mistake number 4 is painting objects by name. That's right. Painting objects by name. The biggest realization that I made as a beginner plein air painter when I was doing my apprenticeship in Russian Impressionism was that I was painting objects by name as opposed to seeing and painting. Allow me to explain. And I even wrote this in my journal during my apprenticeship. And I went back and looked at it. I mean, I've looked at it so many times, but go ahead and right now, you just type in the search bar for Google or YouTube, and you'll see that people are actually typing in and searching for how to paint trees, how to paint clouds, how to paint water, barns. This is a huge, huge mistake, and it will slow your growth tremendously as a plein air landscape painter because it's a complete mindset shift is what I'm talking about, like a mental zone, like a state of mind, you know, Kung Fu Zen type stuff. Like get to a point where you block out, you know, the name of whatever it is you were painting. I'm serious. You're not painting an apple. It's not an apple. It's just some shape with light and dark and shadow and everything else on it. So, you know, if you want a freshness and authenticity to your plein air landscape paintings, don't look for formulas. Instead, paint the atmosphere. Paint the light as it spreads across the object. Don't paint the object. Paint the light on the object, just like the French Impressionists did. I think if you try too hard to make it look like a tree by name, you'll detail it to death and you will lose that battle. So learn how to see shapes and objects and untrain your brain. Untrain your brain that you are painting objects by name. Trust your instinct and your training and mix up colors and values that are actually out there in the landscape, whether they make sense or not. You know, the sky is not always blue, right? So this is why we plein air paint, right? To get up close and personal with nature. That's why we do it. It's what's so special about plein air painting, so different. It's what makes it the best out there. You're using direct observation to create a memory, a mood, and an emotion from a blank canvas that resonates with the people who are going to see it forever. You know, painting what you actually see that day, that hour, without any guardrails or rules or reasoning from your frontal lobe is what makes plein air so great, really. Listen to that again. You need to hear that. So it's that place in time. You know, when you've done that, you've done your job. And that's my idea of a masterpiece, you know. So here's another challenge for you. And my question to you is, will you try this on your next plein air painting? and just see. Will you honestly give it a shot and see if it doesn't make a difference in your paintings? So, you know, here's a word for somebody too. Paint your experience with nature, your interpretation of it. Don't try to copy nature. That's for somebody too. Let me know in the comments if that was for you. All right, so go back and review my list of 4 mistakes and honestly ask yourself, which one are you struggling with the most? Watch this again if you need to. Take some notes, get your notepad out, get serious about it, because I really want you to take your paintings to the next level this coming year. I really am serious about it. I'm trying to do the same thing. So start there. Study, practice, focus on one area until you see some improvement, and then move on to the next. It's just miles on the brush. You'll get it. You can do it for sure. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't be too hard on yourself. Have some fun. You can do this.
All right, let's take a time out and look at some brush strokes up close here and see what we've done. You know, I kind of like what we put together. I think the river, I would like to have had more time, put a little more detail in there and do that a little bit better. The trees I did really quickly toward the end. I was running out of battery, so I didn't get to show you too much of that, but take a look here up close at some, you know, a mix of palette knife and just various brushes and colors, warms and cools next to each other. A little tricky to show the snow on the trees, on the evergreen trees like that. And it's kind of fun to do that though and take a swing at it and try it. And kind of fun to show these footprints in the snow here in the foreground. A little path walking along the river. But all in all, might make a few studio touch-ups, might not. We'll see. Some things I like, some things I would love to change, but well, all right, I guess here's my humble advice for you. I think dig into one of these mistakes or skill sets and see which one you can kind of focus on in the new year here. You know, if you're struggling with all of them, just pick one of them and just go easy and take your time. I've got videos really on each one of these 4. If you want to take a deep dive, search around my library and look at those other videos on values and color mixing and everything else. Again, I've got that free video on drawing, so take a look at it. The link is in the description. That gives you access to our newsletter and our community as well. And so after you watch that drawing video and you download it, the next video that I would suggest would be right up here. I'll put it right up here. How to see and mix colors en plein air. A really in-depth, detailed look at color theory and how to nail some colors and mix them and see them outdoors. Hey, thanks for joining me. God bless. See you in the mountains.